Hi, everyone. Hi, PBF. So my name is Kryštof, and as a UN Youth Delegate of the Czech Republic, one of the many things that I do is that I go to schools and I teach young kids, young pupils about the UN and how to get engaged in politics and diplomacy and what it is that we do as the UNYDs. And what okay, and first I always introduce myself. So my name is Kryštof. I graduated with Masters of Law at Stupka this year. I'm an LGBTQ plus rights activist and a member of the Committee on LGBT plus rights, and I work in Deloitte. And in my free time, mainly, I focus on climate crisis, human rights, queer rights, and youth participation. But so when I go to these schools, I always want to ask these young kids, what is it that they want to do in 10 years? Where do they see themselves? And these are usually teenagers, but several times I've asked this question, and then I realized, what was I doing 10 years ago? What is the, sort of like going back, what is it that I was doing when I was in their shoes? And I realized I was in a pretty bad place. I was sort of living in this very Catholic, conservative, terrorist state. And I wasn't happy. I'm just getting 14. I came out when I was 14 and a bit, so in the winter. And so now it's going to be 10 years ago. And this was a very difficult period of my life. I went to conversion therapy. There was all of this like shit going around. And, but also all of these things sort of pushed me to develop a get out plan. And so in 2013, I went in what I call today the Say Yes era, where I said yes to every opportunity that I found, to every opportunity that was sort of around me. So then I would be able to go to 2015 at a new school at Think Global School, which is an American school and based in the US that sort of travels around the world. And the way this worked is that in 2013, I really spent a year and a half volunteering. Every single day I would wake up and be like, what is the next opportunity? What is the next big thing that I can do to build my CV? What is the next big thing to do so I can succeed at this like international high schools? And this was an IB school, and IB school are extremely competitive. So for me, it was really like, so I have to get good grades. Okay, that's quite easy in the Czech Republic. I have to have a CV. That's quite difficult in the Czech Republic. So I was doing all of these different things, especially the European Youth Parliament was really one of the big things that I did, but I was also volunteering with people with disabilities. And then I got into learning to be myself era. And so that was at the Think Global School. When I got there, I really, oh my God, I'm like getting so hot in this. At the Think Global School, I really went there and I needed to I was suddenly in an environment where I was able to be myself, right? And this was a big new thing for me. Like as a kid that was coming from a very, very, yeah, maybe. I'm gonna put it here. So I'm actually like quite sick. I have antibiotics, so this was not a, yeah. But anyways, so I got to Think Global School, and suddenly I was in a place where I was able to be myself. And this really sort of made me able to learn new things and create a new persona of who I want to be, choose my values. And this was also at a time when Barack Obama lost his election, right? So I was there when Trump won. I remember we were in Peru. We were in this like really tiny mountain resort in the middle of nowhere in Peru, and we were watching the election with bad Wi-Fi, with all of my friends in this like old room. It was the middle of the night, and suddenly it became clear that like Obama is being replaced by Trump. And so Michelle Obama, of course, became this icon after the election that was sort of seen by many people as this unifying voice on the Democratic side. And she always said that success isn't about how much money you make, it's about the difference you make in people's lives. And that's something I took forward. And I got into Stupka after graduating from Think Global School. And Stupka is, of course, one of the top French universities for politics and overall. And I went from being able to be myself at high school to realizing my own talents and being the queen bee. And the reason I was the queen bee isn't just sort of like a thing I wrote on the presentation. It was actually something that I did. And the reason for that is because I was selected or was elected as the student representative. And I was the first student representative in the history of the university, of the campus, that was elected as openly gay student representative, and also as somebody with over 50% of votes counting for me. So then in the second year, I was the head of the student council. And the funny story about this is that I actually, when I got to uni, I was like, I wanted to be this popular kid. I wanted to be this person that everybody knows and that sort of goes to every party. And I went from like being nobody in high school, like being the person that learns everything, to actually being somebody and being popular and fun at uni. And when I did this, I also wanted to be the student rep. So I did this campaign.
I'm voting for Kryštof for a student representative.
I'm gonna vote for Kryštof!
Considering I'm doing this propaganda video, I don't know, Kryštof, who am I voting for?
For the screwdriver guy from Stupka Runs Trade.
I'm voting for Kryštof, whose real historical role model is Harvey Milk.
Kryštof, the cool guy.
I'm voting for Kryštof.
I think that he will fight for us, tooth and nail, for the entire 2 years that he's going to be doing this role.
I think voting for Kryštof will mean that I'm voting for somebody to represent like me and what I have to say.
I read through his letter and I'm really interested about the fact that he's starting about really simple plans.
His ideas are the most down-to-earth ideas, and his program is the most reachable on the short and long term.
He's always willing to hear your voice, and he's always willing to hear your ideas, and he is
Student representative that connects with all parts of the student body.
Because he's a cutie. No, I'm voting for Kryštof. I think he has the best program.
and I know that he can represent me as well as I want to be represented by my student representatives.
He has the conviction to do it, he has the passion to do this, so I think he truly is the best choice.
Vote for Kryštof.
Now, the funny thing about this video and about the campaign is that I was actually, when the election came around, it was the third week, or the campaign started the third week of uni. And at this point, everybody knew me as this party kid, right? As a person that they want to hang out with, but would not necessarily trust running the administration and representing the student body. And so when I sort of announced my candidacy, I, of course, went to the current student reps, and they were like, Kryštof, what the fuck? Like, you can't actually be a student rep. You are, sure, you're popular, you are an important part, integral part of the student body, but you're not somebody that could be elected. And so what I did actually here is that I took all of the people that were trusted. I did a map of the entire 300 people in our grade, and I selected people in each of the groups that people trusted. So there was the Canadians, there was the French, the popular French, there was the smart French, there was the mental health people, there were the queer people, there were the feminists, there were the left, there was the left, there was the ultra-right. Everybody is somebody in this video. And then eventually this was the reason I was elected, because I was able to approach every single person from every single demographic at the uni. And this was when I realized that when I want something, I'm really gonna go into depths to get it. And so my next era is about finding my voice. This is where all of the demonstrations that Lenka was talking, most of the demonstrations that Lenka was talking about are actually from. I first started working at the European Parliament, but then second wave of COVID happened, and I moved back to Prague from Brussels while studying my master's, and I was kind of bored, so I started doing activism. There was also a lot of the things happening, and I wanted to be visible because I thought that in the way that activism, the LGBTQ activism is done here, it's not very representative of the young people. And I mean, even if you look around here, around yourself and around the speakers, it's not the most youth-friendly place. And so I thought that I could do things a little differently and add a little bit of youth spark. And I was provocative, and I was visible, and oftentimes this visibility was a bad visibility. So then this year, I took a break from everything last November, December, and then this year I started with this big interview with Čestmír, where I really wanted to sort of start on a clean slate and focus on professionalizing my activism and advocacy. I also moderated a stage at Prague Pride. I was selected as a UNYD, finished my master's. Oh, and here I was, of course, before I was selected as a UN youth delegate, I was actually selected as a global youth delegate to United Nations Environmental Assembly in Kenya, where I was for 3 weeks last winter, and I had an opening speech at the OECPR opening ceremony there. And this year, I mean, I think I somehow managed to get from a random activist on Twitter to a known human rights or LGBTQ+ rights advocate, while staying authentic to what I think. And this, of course, me with the candidate for president, Danuše Nerudová, but then this is me at the UN. And at the UN, I was speaking on behalf of the Czech Republic in New York. And there was a funny story where I wrote my speech. And then it was, of course, supposed to be approved by the Czech ministry. And they were like, we know you do human rights, but we need you to choose different language. And they sent me a completely different speech to what I proposed. And I was like, no. I was like, I'm the one saying these words. If you want somebody to say your speech, find somebody else. And there's a big time difference between Prague and New York. And so this was right before the speech, and it was sort of like back and forth calls until the very hour when I was speaking. And at the end, I think, we found a compromise. I put out some phrases that they were right, that weren't supposed to be in a UN speech, but otherwise it was still very queer and very Gen Z. And then, of course, this is me at COP27 just a couple of weeks ago. And so this is back to my eras, and there are some takeaways that I took. One is to always have values, and one of them is kindness. And I want to go back to, being a crazy activist in the Czech Republic. I think sometimes I forgot about that, and going forward, kindness is one of the things that I would like to focus on. Honesty and integrity is something that I always do. Like I always say things as they are, but it has to go with kindness together, because otherwise you can just be mean. And Ubuntu, about community, open-mindedness, that's just, of course, but also about you are in charge. And that's something that I took away over the last several years, is that it was always, at the end, it was always about what I did and how the people around me supported me. But it was also about choosing the people that are around me. My purpose, working towards human rights protections and LGBTQ plus equality, and how you can find me online, even on LinkedIn. I'm as Kryštof Stupka. And that's it. Thank you.
You have to stay. We have questions. Okay, so if you have questions, there is a thing called Slido, and you should look at Slido, hashtag PBF2022, and you put your question in there, and then it comes to me, and then I ask him. It's like magic. I lived in Japan in the 90s, and I'd write a letter, and it would take 2 weeks to get there, and then they'd answer it and send it back. This is incredible. Okay, hi. About you, though. Okay, now they're coming. You mentioned conversion therapy, which is very painful. Why did your parents send you there?
I mean, so this is actually like very medialized in the Czech Republic already, so I prefer not to talk about it, to like focus on the positive things, but it's like I come from a very conservative Catholic environment.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Okay. Then we've got, you're working for Deloitte. How was it to come out there?
I don't come out, right? So like I come like this. There's no sort of coming out. I don't have to, and this is something that I actually get upset about as well, is that young people often find this concept of coming out foreign, because we have, or the generation that I interact with the most isn't in the closet anymore, and does not consider that as the default. We consider our default within the communities that we want to be in as being ourselves.
That's nice. That's so sweet. Okay, I've got apparently a two-part question. I would have clapped for that myself. Okay, this is the first part. The youth voice is generally missing from public discourse. 79% of young people support marriage equality, but the politicians don't support it. And then the second half disappeared. How can the youth change this? And what arguments are we missing in the public discourse by not including LGBTIQ people?
Well,
people specifically.
Yeah, I mean, in the Czech Republic, young people are almost like, a marginalized group on its own, even though it sounds ridiculous. But realistically, the people that go to vote and that decide elections are pensioners. And our society is not catered in any way towards young people, towards youth participation, towards youth involvement in politics and public affairs. And so we find ourselves in this time and place where young people have actually been brought up by Netflix, right? Young queer people in the Czech Republic are the same like young queer people all over the world, and yet they have to exist in a society that is ridiculously conservative. And that is conservative to the point where they go online and they find these safe spaces to then go into real life and having to sort of like in a ridiculous way just change themselves and change their identities. And I think that soon enough, all of you as the sort of millennials and the generation above us, because I'm Gen Z as well, like Gen Z is going into workforce right now, and they are not happy about what we see. And we're going to be more and more vocal about the way that things are dysfunctional and completely ridiculous for no reason at all. And so I think that if you, as an employer, want to attract Gen Z, you have to start taking things that's inclusion and equality and diversity more seriously than you do at this point. But in terms of politics, right, it's even worse. because workplace is at least somehow millennial focused. Politics is boomer. We don't have, I once wrote on Twitter that like Czech Republic is governed by millennials and boomers, and this famous millennial journalist was like, excuse me, like there is no millennials in the Czech politics. And he was right. We have one minister that's millennial. The others are boomers, Gen X at best. And this society is incredibly gerontocratic, and young people are leaving. They're leaving the country. They are not succeeding within this environment. They are not at their best. And they also have very difficult mental health problems. We're one of the countries where mental health issues are rising the steepest in the EU. Post-COVID, where young people were forgotten from the public affairs, post 16 years of doing nothing with LGBTQ plus rights, post the fact that feminism is still like a swear word in public affairs in the Czech Republic. So we are at this point where young people don't feel like they can flourish in the society. And this is a terrible situation, especially for the generations above us that want us to pay for their pensions.
Excellent. This is not a connected. This is a connected question. Well, what is the next big project that you plan? How about
Thank you. Yeah, and it's actually, I mean, it actually has a lot to do with young people, right? Like, I think that in my position right now, I am the best advantage that I can have to the society overall is actually working with young people and ensuring that young people can have role models, but also can have a possibility, like a place where they can go and learn how to do advocacy, a place where can they join and sort of see that working and advocating and doing activism and advocating for human rights and equality and climate change makes sense, and that it's not just, you know, the left or the right, and it's just all of us together should, as young people, move and work and show up and, you know, be loud about how we want Czech Republic to be more equal. And so my next big project is actually coming on the 10th, so this Saturday. So if you want to follow me, then you're going to hear more about it. And I'm really excited for it.
Okay, there's two connected questions. It's how is the Czech Republic compared to the US? And then your experiences from the US. If the society in India and the Czech Republic are conservative, could you have done things the same way if you'd stayed in the Czech Republic? Would you have developed in the same way if you'd
No, absolutely not.
So then, if there was one thing we could learn from your experiences and apply here, what would that be?
If there was
One thing that you could, from your experiences in the US, that you could apply here, what would that be?
Well, I mean, so it's funny, right? Because when I started doing activism here, I was sort of just using my California, let's just like start cancel culture, right? Like, and I mean, it worked to the extent that I was visible. It wasn't working to the extent that it was making more people mad than it was making people think. So I think there are good things about the US. There are also really toxic things about the US. But yeah, I think that Czech Republic is at a crossroads in many ways. So I think but also it's different because before, right, like a year and a half ago, I was in a place where I could say anything and just be like, haha, whatever. But now if I say something really bad, it's like, it suddenly has this broader impact and implications, and then it gets discussed for 2 weeks on Twitter. So now I'm also way more careful about how I do things, and I think about this in like a more, I have a PR advisor. I'm like, what do we do about this? Like, should I say that or should I say that? So I do think about things more systematically, but 1.5 years ago, I was just applying the US activism case study onto the Czech Republic and finding out how it doesn't work, but also finding out that it's really effective in many ways, and that it goes viral.
Yes.
Yeah.
Much like COVID. Okay, this is a question and then a comment. Are your parents watching? Because I admire your energy and I'm proud of your work.
I don't know.
Don't know.
I don't care. I mean, I don't think they know. Like.
Okay. As a parent, I'm proud of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.